Assalamualaikum and have a good day to Dr. Anis. For the subject FIN555, we are assigned to do video presentation on our group assignment, and now we are going to present about comprehensive analysis of the last of trading, which is 31 December 2020. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Shamimi Najwa binti Syairan from RBA2424B.
My name is Nurul Marhana binti Damanpuri from class RBA2424B.
Hi, my name is Farhati binti Mansur from RBA2424B.
Hello, my name is Nur Afrina binti Yaakob from RBA2424B.
My name is Nur Nabila binti Yusril Hafiz from RBA2424B.
For this assignment, we are assigned to choose 5 companies to make analysis the last of trading by using 5 indicators on 31 December 2020. We have chosen Spritzer Berhad, which is Mahana will be the presenter, Coquelan Holding Berhad, which is Farha will be the presenter, Hotel Industry Berhad, which is me will be the presenter, Ayan Berhad, which is Arfina will be the presenter, and the last one is CI Holdings, which is Nabila will be the presenter. All the company we have choose is under consumer product and services. For the indicator, we have been chosen stochastic indicator, MACD indicator, RSI indicator, double moving average indicator, and the last one is ROC indicator.
Spritzer Berhad is an investment holding company. Through its subsidiaries, the company produces natural mineral water, carbonated flavored water, distilled water and drinking water. Spritzer also manufactures and sells polyethylene terephthalate bottles, toothbrushes and plastic household goods. Okay, the first analysis is by using stochastic indicator. We can indicate the buying signal through stochastic indicator if the %K line is above the %D line in the oversold area, which is below 20%, and selling signal when the %K line is below the %D line in the overbought area, which is above 80%. However, in the diagram, as at 31st December 2020, both lines are bearish but not yet crosses below the oversold area. Investors are forbidden to sell the Spritzer Berhad stocks during this date to avoid losses and are not advised to buy the stocks. If the investors wait a little bit longer until it crosses under the oversold line, and when the %K line is above the %D line, they can buy this company's stocks and generate maximum profit. The second indicator for Spritzer Berhad is moving average convergent divergence. When MACD line is bullish and crosses above the signal line, it indicates buying signal, while selling signal is when MACD line is bearish and crosses below the signal line and zero line. By looking at the MACD in the diagram, we can see that on 31st December 2020, both lines are not crossing to each other, and at the same time, MACD line are below the signal line. At this time, the MACD line are bearish and traders are advised to stay away from the market to avoid losses. Next is Relative Strength Index, RSI. When the RSI line is bearish and touch 30%, it indicates that the asset is considered cheap and it is a buying signal for investors since the price is low. When the RSI line is bullish and touch the 70%, it indicates that the asset is considered expensive and it is a selling signal for investors. According to the diagram, RSI line is bearish and touched the 30% line on the 31st December 2020. This is a buying signal for the investors. However, investors are advised to wait until the RSI line falls below the 30% line, which is in oversold area, before buying Spritzer Berhad stocks in order to maximize the profit when the line started to bullish. The chart used in the diagram is double moving average indicator. When the shorter average is crossing over the longer average, it indicates buying signal, and when the shorter average is crossing under the longer average, it indicates selling signal. However, there is no selling or buying signal in the diagram as at 31st December 2020 due to both lines doesn't crossing each other. Investors are advised to stay away from the market. If the investors already buy Spritzer Berhad stock before, he should wait until the longer average cross above the shorter average to sell the stocks in order to gain profit. For the rate of change, A rising ROC above zero typically confirms an uptrend, while a falling ROC below zero indicates a downtrend. Based on the diagram, on the 31st December 2020, there are no buying or selling signal. Even though the ROC line is below the zero line, investors cannot buy Spitzer-Berhad stocks as the blue line is moving downward or bearish and almost crossed below the green line, and there is no uptrend movement after that. Apart from that, investors also cannot sell their stocks at this time as the price is at the lowest and will result to losses. Therefore, investors are advised to stay away from the market.
So now I would like to present about one of the company stock that we already choose as a comprehensive analysis of 31 December 2020, which is Cocoland Holding Berhad. Cocoland Holding Berhad is a business that manufactures and trades in processed and preserved foods such as chocolate, hard candies, fruit gummies, cookies, wafers, snacks, and more. Their business are widely traded in Malaysia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and internationally. They was listed on Bursa Malaysia since 2005 with 540.8 million as their market capitalization. So now let's move to the technical analysis that I have made towards this stock using 5 indicators. For the first indicator, we use stochastic indicators. For the decision, if the closing line position above 18%, it is a signal to sell the stock. Whereas, when the line was closing below than 20%, it is suitable to buy the stock at that time. According to the chart on 31 December 2020, it shows that the line was closing below than 20%, which is 60.3%. Therefore, we can buy the stock at that time because the price is lower than intrinsic value, and we have to hold the stock until it reaches above 18% so that we can get a higher return. Okay, for the second indicator, for Cocoland Holding Berhad, we use MACD. To use this indicator is by looking at MACD closing. If the MACD line is closing above than zero, we need to sell the stock. While if the line was closing below than zero, therefore we need to buy the stock. So based on the chart on 31 December 2020, it shows that the line was not closing, which is other. So we should not buy or sell on that day. However, if we can see, the line was moved below than zero. So we need to wait for next month in order to buy at the lowest and the most suitable price. Okay, for the third method to identify whether to buy or to sell in Cocoland Holding Berhad stock is by using a relative strength index, or we call it RSI. The classical way to interpret this indicator is by looking at overbought, which is above than 30%, it is suitable to sell the stock. While if the line position is below than 30%, it is a signal to buy the stock. So according to the chart on 31 December 2020, the RSI line was positioned on the line of 30%. Therefore, it is a signal which is the best time to buy the stock because the price of the stock is lower on that day. So investors are required to hold this stock for a few months until the line reached at 30% or above. So from that, it will provide the higher return for investors. Okay, for the next indicator, we use double moving average. The decision for this indicator is if the crossover between two lines, which is the blue and red line, is closing below the stock price, it is a signal of bullish, which is suitable time to sell the stock. Meanwhile, if the crossover is positioned above stock price line, it is a signal of bearish, meaning that it is suitable time to buy the stock. So based on the chart, on 31 December 2020, both of the lines do not cross on that day, which means it is not the right time to buy or sell the stock on that day. However, a few days later, investors can buy the stock when the line is closing and they have to hold the stock for several months until it reaches the signal of selling in order to get their return. Okay, for the last indicator, we use rate of change or ROC on Cocoland Holding Berhad. For the decision under this indicator, when the lines are positioned above the zero line, it indicates investor to sell the stock. While if the line positioned below the zero line, it is a signal for investor to buy the stock. So according to the chart, on 31 December 2020, the line showed it was positioned slightly below the zero line. Thus, investors are required to buy the stock on that day because the price is lowest and are expected to rise a few months later.
Now, I will explain about the Hua Thai Industry Berhad company that we have been chosen. The Hua Thai Industry Berhad is one of the premier and longest established biscuits manufacturer in Malaysia. It was established in 1962 and listed on the Stock Exchange Malaysia in 1992. Since then, this fast expanding company has grown to be one of the largest players in the biscuit industry in the country and produce a wide range of superior quality biscuits. Hua Thai has taken pride in their excellent innovation and high-quality products which have firmly entrenched them not only in Malaysia but also in over 50 countries around the world. Next, we look at the technical analysis by using 5 indicators that we have been chosen. The first indicator is stochastic. As we can see on the diagram, it shows that the selling signal in Hua Thai stock. This is mean that the investor can sell the Hua Thai stock on 31 December 2020 because the KLN is below the DNAS, which is from 80% area to 62.3% area, as we can see on green arrow, so that they can prevent loss and get profit there since the price was continued to decline from that day. However, the investor needs to wait some period so that they can buy the Hua Thai stock a few weeks after that day, as we can see on the red arrow, which means there is a right time on buying signal since the market price is lower as the KLN is above the D line in the oversold area, which is below 20%. The reason why they need to buy Hua Thai stock because the price will tend to rise after that day. Second indicator is MACD indicator. Based on the diagram above, we can see that on 31 December 2020, both lines are not crossing each other, but the MACD line was above the signal line, which we can see on the green arrow. It means that the investor needs to hold the stock because there is no buy and sell signal until they have a crossing line each other, which indicate the Hua Thai stock on 31 December 2020 was off the market, so that the investor are advised need to stay away from the market. Fortunately, after a few weeks, there is a buying signal which is the MACD is bullish and crosses above the signal line, as we can see on the red arrow. So, the investor is advised to buy Hua Thai stock at that time because it is the right time to buy the stock since the market price is lower and will generate profit in the future. The third indicator is RSI. As we can see on the diagram above, the RSI line on the 31 December 2020 is below 70% to 60%, as we can see on green arrow, which indicates a bearish signal and a selling signal for the investor. However, the investor is advised to hold the Hua Thai stock at that time until the RSI line is really going up and crosses above 70%. It means that the investor needs to wait until some periods to reach the stock above 70% to gain some profits. Fortunately, the investor can sell the Hua Thai stock after few months, as we can see on red arrow, which indicates there is a right time on a selling signal. This is because the RSI line was reached above 70% and the investor will gain profits at that time. The indicator is double moving average. As we can see on the diagram, there is no crossing line on 31 December 2020 on green arrow. It means that there is no right time buy or sell signal on that day. So investors are advised to stay out from the market. Meanwhile, the investor should wait and hold the stock until some periods, as we can see on red arrow, to sell their volatile stock, because at that time the shorter average, which is 20, is crossing below the longer average, which is 50. The reason why the investor should wait and hold until some periods, because it is the best selling signal. From that, they can generate profits by selling their volatile stock in the future. The last indicator is ROC. As we can see on the diagram, the ROC line on 31 December 2020 was reached above zero line, as we can see on green arrow, and shows bullish market at that time, which indicates a selling signal. So the investor can sell their volatile stock at that time to prevent loss and also gains profit, since the price will decline after 31 December. However, the investors are advised to buy the volatile stock after a few months, as we can see on the red arrow, as the ROC line below the zero line, which indicate there is a buying signal. The reason why they need to buy the stock, because the price will tend to rise after that day and they will earn high profits in the future.
I will explain about indicators for stock Aeon. Aeon is a Japanese multinational holding company of Aeon Group. The headquarters in Mihamaku, Shiba, and formerly known as Jasco. Aeon is the largest retailer in Asia. It is a retail chain comprised of 129 companies and combined with 26 equity-related companies such as department store, supermarket, mall, and specialty stores such as Starbucks. Aeon is the single largest shopping mall in Japan and as a developer and operator there. For the first indicator for stock Aeon is stochastic. Based on this graph, investor can buy the stock if the line of %K is exceeding the %D line. And investor can sell the stock if the %K line crossing below the %D line. According to this diagram on 31 December 2020, investor can hold the stock if they want to sell the stock. This is because the %K line will be crossing below the %D line in a few days later. During that time, it shows selling signal where investors are recommended to sell their stock. For the second indicator for Aeon is moving average convergence divergence, which is MACD. In this indicator, investors need to spot the bearish and bullish signal. If the MACD line, which is blue line, cross up past the signal line, which is red line, it shows that investors should buy the stock. And if the blue line cross down past the signal line, investors should sell the stock. Based on the graph on 31 December 2020, investors should wait for a while if they want to buy the stock, because the MACD line, green arrow, is likely to fall and the price is expected to drop. So it is better for them to wait until the price falls, because they can minimize their purchase price. The investors can buy the stock at below zero instead of 5 cents. For the next indicator for Aeon is Relative Strength Index, which is RSI. The method to know if investors should buy or sell is we observe at the line 30% and 70%. If the line down to 30%, investors should buy because it indicates oversold and the price is bearish. If the line exceeds 70%, investors should sell because it indicates overbought and the price is bullish. The graph above shows that on 31 December 2020, the investor should hold if they want to buy the stock, because according to RSI indicator, the price of the stock will decrease next week, which is on 8 January. During that time, investors are recommended to buy it because it goes down the 30% line, which means oversold and the price is more cheaper. The fourth indicator is double moving average. In this indicator, investors need to buy the stock if the red line moving average crossing up blue line moving average. And if they want to sell the stock, they can sell it before the red line moving average cross down the blue line of moving average, because it shows that the price is bearish. On 31 December 2020, investors can hold to buy the stock since there are no crossing between the red line and blue lines. This is because the price of the stock will soon fall. So it is better for the investor to hold if they want to buy so that they can buy with cheaper price. And the last indicator for Aeon is rate of change, which is ROC. In this indicator, if investor want to buy the stock, they can buy when the line is crossing down below the zero line. And if they want to sell the stock, they can do that when the line is crossing above the zero line. Based on this chart on 31 December 2020, it shows signal that hold to buy for the stock. This is because at that time, the price of the stock will drop on 8 January. So, it is better for the investor to buy on that day so they can minimize their purchasing costs. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, I hope this Berhad is engaged in investment holding and the provision of management services to the company's subsidiaries. It has three segments: edible oil, tapware, and sanitary ware, and investment holdings. So the edible oil segment is engaged in buying, selling, manufacturing, and packing of various type of edible oils. The tapware and sanitary ware segment is engaged in the manufacturing and trading of household fittings and appliances such as water taps, plumbing accessories, and sanitary wares. And its investment holding segment is engaged in investment activities. Okay, so the first indicator that I use for the stock analysis is stochastic. So stochastic indicator is a popular trading indicator that focuses on price momentum and can be used to identify overbought and oversold levels. And as with moving averages, when the two stochastic lines, which is K% and D% cross, a signal is generated. And if the white K% line crosses below the red D% line, so a possible sell signal is generated. If the red D% line crosses below the white K% line, so a possible buy signal is generated. So based on the chart shown, so the K% line is crosses below the D% line as it shows by the red arrow. So this means investors can sell their stocks at that time. And this is because the K% line is crosses at overbought area, which is at 82.7%. And however, investors can also decide to hold the stocks for a few days more because on 12th January 2021, so the stock prices have a huge decline and fall into oversold area, but the investors can gain profit back with buy the stocks after the K% line crosses above the D% line, climbing up to overbought area, which is above 20%. Okay, so the second indicator is moving average convergence divergence, or we call as MACD. So MACD is often displayed with a histogram at which graph the distance between the MACD and its signal line. If the MACD is above the signal line, the histogram will be above the MACD's baseline. And if the MACD is below the signal line, so the histogram will be below the MACD's baseline. So traders, they use the MACD's histogram to identify when bullish or bearish momentum is high. So based on the chart shown, so on 31st December 2020, the MACD line does not crosses with signal line, but the MACD line is still above the signal line. So the investors have to wait for the both lines to cross with each other because currently the indicator shows that the stock prices is off market. However, the investors can buy the stocks again as shown at the green arrow because it shows a bullish signal. So the next indicator is relative strength index, or RSI. So RSI is a momentum oscillator that measures the speed and change of price movements. So traditionally, the RSI is considered overbought when above 70 and oversold when below 30. So signals can be generated by looking for divergence and failure swings. So RSI can also be used to identify the general trend. So based on the chart shown, On 31st December 2020, the RSI reading move is at 74.2%, which is at overbought region. So at this point, investors can decide to sell their stocks in order to get profit. However, investors can also buy the stocks a few days later because RSI reading moves toward 30%, which is it shown at the red arrow. Okay, next is double moving average. So double moving average is where the long-term average blue line, which is 50, are crossing with the short-term average red line, which is 20. So if the long-term average, the blue line, across above the short-term average, which is the red line, so it shows a selling signal, while the crossover of short-term average line above the long-term average line indicates a buy signal. So according to the chart shown on 31st December 2020, there is no crossover between the short-term average line and the long-term average line. So this means it is not a suitable time for investors to buy or to sell the stocks. So the last indicator is rate of change or ROC. So according to the ROC indicator, when the ROC line is moving above the zero, it is a signal where the investors need to sell the stock. Meanwhile, if the ROC line is moving below the zero, so the investors can buy stocks at that time. So based on the chart on 31st December 2020, so the ROC line is moved above the zero line, but it shows that the speed of the uptrend is slowing down. So at this rate, investors can decide whether they want to sell the stock to avoid any losses. However, the ROC starts to show about a positive momentum where the ROC line is above the zero and again starts rising and crosses the previous top. So it shows that the uptrend is very much in its peak.
For the conclusion, by using the different indicators, we are able to determine the counter that are advised to be traded on the last trading day of 31st December 2020, which are counter Cocoland Holdings Berhad, Huatai Industries Berhad, and CI Holdings Berhad. While for counters Spritzer Berhad and Aeon, the traders are advised to hold their stock and wait to enter the market at the right time. The Cocoland Holdings Berhad counter shows a lot of buying signal, while Huatai Industries Berhad and CI Holdings Berhad shows a lot of selling signals. Okay, that's all for our presentation. Thank you.